Hi all, welcome again to our COTI community, developer community call. I'm really happy to be doing another call, inviting everyone to come up, ask the questions, get familiar with whatever we are developing, and really taking part in the journey that we are doing towards our testnet and mainnet for COTI v2. With me today is Eitan and Daniel. They presented themselves in the last time, so I'll make sure to skip and talk about the onboarding. Soon Spencer and David will be joining us also. So to recap from our last call, we basically just presented the team, we presented the project and what we do. We just made a very brief introduction of all the places we wanted to talk about, which is the all the available resources we have, the code we have. So we did all kinds of high-level going procedures. For today, we want to talk about something very specific to COTI v2, something that there were lots of questions about, and developer kept asking us questions that have to do with onboard. And we want to talk about onboard and what does it mean, and why do we have the onboard, and what it should be used. So just to keep in mind, today's development resources are the docs COTI.io, where you can see our GitHub Git book, which has also the Ask AI button. It's really cool, try it. I also already got some feedback from developers that are using it, and it works great. It really answers the questions. Explore DevNet, that you can see the transaction and the actual GitHub. We keep updating. And we keep getting our SDKs much better, and we appreciate any feedback that you guys can give us, and that works great. So follow us, show us which repo you like best. Of course, put stars, put follower. We really appreciate your support and your feedback. It's super important for us to know that we are creating the right tools that will help you to use COTI v2 and get your applications being confidential. Daniel, please, our head of product, take it onwards and show us what we are going to talk about today.
Thank you, Guy. Yes, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining, and thank you for being here. So yes, today we're going to cover at a high level what accounts are in the COTI network. So there are some components that are specifically akin to an account in the COTI network that make it unique. And there are certain steps that need to be taken whenever you are about to use an account on the network and you want to execute privacy-preserving operations, such as encrypt, decrypt, and things like that. So we're going to talk about the components of an account and what the onboarding process for a new account looks like. And then a couple of folks from the dev team are going to show you what that looks like with the Python SDK and the Typescript SDK, what the onboarding process for an account looks like. And finally, we're going to give you a sneak peek of the COTI Developer Sandbox, which is basically a GUI-driven project that will allow you to get familiar with the concepts of the COTI network, and it will allow you to do a number of things in the COTI network as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So when we talk about an account in the world of blockchain, COTI accounts are basically very similar in the fact that they are composed of a key pair. They have a private key and a public key, and they have an address, just like any other regular blockchain account. And what's unique in the COTI network is that each account is also assigned an account encryption key. And this account encryption key is it's very sensitive and unique to each account, and is what will allow that account to execute privacy-preserving operations, number one. And number two, that account encryption key will also be kind of the driving force for delegated access. So let's say if you have a piece of data that you own and you want to allow a third party to either view that data or compute on that data, the account encryption key is what will allow those things to happen. And that's what makes it unique. So let's move on to the next slide.
To add, to emphasize, the account encryption key is a different key from the signing key. The same key that you use to sign your transaction that basically manages your MetaMask, your account itself. It's not the same key. We have a signing key, which is still being used because we are EVM compatible. We do everything the same. And the account encryption key is used differently to encrypt decrypt. That's just one thing to emphasize. Go ahead, Daniel.
Okay. So whenever we talk about onboarding an account in the COTI network, we refer to the onboard account function in our onboard account contract. And this is a function that basically does a couple of things. So first, it will see first if an account exists. And if it doesn't, it will call this function. It will create an account. And this function relies on the MPC core library to handle all key-related operations. So whenever it's creating a new key, it's calling on the MPC core. And whenever it's doing anything that's related to a key, it will call the MPC core. So when this function is called, it generates a specific AES key that's specifically for this user. It ensures also that the account has the key associated with it. And it basically will expect this account to use this key for any kind of operation on the COTI network. Guy, anything you want to add there?
Sure. The key is deterministic, meaning the key that's generated for a specific account is the same key that will be always used. You can consider it as final, and that's the same key that will be used for encrypt decrypt for that specific user along the life cycle of the blockchain itself, always. So that key gets basically, you can say, generated, which is kind of right because it's already predetermined once the blockchain started for any key, for any account. And once you get the value, once you use the onboard function, if I may, I'll just that's basically the contract that has the onboard account function that returns inside the emitted part the value of your account, of your encryption key, right? So using that, you know that this function will retrieve it back. This function will basically retrieve back that specific account encryption key. Just to mention, you will see it in a few minutes along the code. It's basically being encrypted using an RSA just to make sure it will be visible to that specific account eyes. But this value that gets generated, we call it onboard, but it's basically just one step that you need to take forward to make sure you know how to encrypt, decrypt things into the COTI network itself. So that's just one thing I wanted to emphasize. Let's go back. So it's a value. It's an encryption key that gets generated that you need to call basically one time when you log in or you start using the encryption method just one time. Let's move on. TypeScript. Spencer, you want to take it onwards, share screen, and show it to us.
Sure. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yes, very well.
Loud and clear.
Cool.
By the way, guys, those that are watching us right now, if you have any questions, we'll love to answer it. Feel free, we'll stop, we'll answer the question. It's all about you. It's all about the question you guys have, and we'll be very happy to answer everything.
I remember last call we had a few weeks ago, there were some problems with the font size being too small. So this is about as big as I could get it while fitting on one screen. I don't know if it's an improvement for anybody.
Definitely. Looks great.
Yeah? Okay, good. Cool. So as we were, as Guy and Daniel mentioned, we have the Typescript SDK here, which is very useful for onboarding the users in the front end and the back end of your own application. So one of the classes that is exposed by the Typescript SDK is this confidential account, which has all of the components that Daniel spoke about. It holds your private key, and it holds your user encryption key or your account encryption key. And if you don't already have this account encryption key, then there's a really useful method for onboarding the user. So when you have an instance of the confidential account object or class, you can call onboard account on it. And I'll just give you guys a high-level overview of how that is done. So the first step is generating your RSA key pair. This is used by the node to encrypt your account encryption key when it's sent back to you. This way, other people watching on the network can't steal your key. So first, you generate a RSA key pair, and you sign the public key using your signing key of your account. And then you call onboard account, which is a function of the account onboard contract that we have conveniently deployed for everybody. Everyone is welcome to deploy their own version of the account onboard contract, or to deploy another instance of the contract we've provided. But just as a convenience, we deployed one instance of it for everyone to use. So as I said, you sign the public RSA key using your account signing key, and you call onboard. What this will do is it will emit your encrypted account encryption key in an event. So we will catch the value from the event, and then we will decrypt it using the private key from the RSA key pair that you generated. And this will, going back to the confidential account class, it will create for you a new instance of the confidential account that has your new encryption key. And with that, you can encrypt values, pass them on chain, decrypt values, and so on.
So if I may add a few pointers to our audience regarding that, Spence, can you go back to the onboard itself?
Sure.
just to make sure in high level everyone followed us, we generate an RSA keeper, a new RSA keeper that no one knows, only we know it. We basically use it to encrypt the RSA public key, okay, using our private key, and send that over to the onboard. That is because basically we want the public RSA key to be used by the onboard to encrypt our account encryption key and then send it back. So only the private RSA key could decrypt that. That's the flow, basically. So that way we make sure that only we know what's the value. So just to make sure you follow, there are lots of encryption and lots of keys going on here, and let's just make sure we sort everything out. So we have the user object that has the private key. That's the normal signing key, which you see in line 12. Okay, that's the private key that's being used for any standard Ethereum signing stuff key. And you have the RSA key that got generated. That's used only for the onboard, and only this time, just to make sure you can basically pass a public that will be used to encrypt and then decrypt it. And then finally, out of the decrypt RSA, you get the account encryption key, which is an AES 128-bit key that's being used to encrypt-decrypt on-chain. Okay, so we need to just make sure everyone are aligned. We have the private key, which is the account private key, the signing key. We have the RSA key, which is a whole different thing, just used for the onboard. And we have the AES key that's used for encrypt-decrypt later on for the actual MPC core function. So those are the keys that are being used along the way. Now, keep in mind, as Spencer mentioned, since we are emitting the value of the encrypted key into the block, it's always there. So if you use the same private key to decrypt the value that was emitted to that block, you could always decrypt your account encryption key over and over. So it's never get lost. Just make sure you save your RSA private key and the block and the transaction hash, and you could always retrieve it back. And of course, you can always call the onboard again with some new RSA key, and you could recover your account encryption key over and over again. That will work out great also. Anything I'm missing there, Spence, from onboarding point of view?
I'll just clarify one thing that you said at the end. So ideally, you'll only execute the onboard procedure one time, since it does require a transaction. But like Guy said, you could go through the onboard procedure as many times as you want, and you will always obtain the exact same AES key as you originally generated. So you don't need to worry about some value that is encrypted on chain using your key. All of a sudden, it's no longer you can no longer encrypt it because you lost your AES key. You can always recover the original AES key by going through the onboard procedure one more time.
Yes. So either you do the onboard procedure again, or you just use the previous RSA key and transaction hash and just pulling it out of the data if you don't want to run the transaction again, and it will work either way. Up to you and how you develop your application to use it. Yeah, that's great. Thank you for displaying the code. If you guys have any questions about the functionality here, we are here today to really dive deep into onboard and what does it do and how does it do it, making sure everyone understands that, because this is a real milestone that you have to go through in COTI V2 to start using it. So it's very important for us to make sure everyone understands this part extremely well. If no questions, and if Spencer, if you think you're done, I think we can move on to the Python implementation part of it. So our audience, our community could also see the Python part of it.
Sure, I'll hand it off to Eitan.
Okay, hi everyone. Let me share my screen. Able to see?
Yep.
So similar to the TypeScript SDK, we created for you a Python SDK. It's pretty much the same, and any developer that like Python can use it, can see examples, and basically can use it in the same way that we're using it in the TypeScript SDK. So this onboard example exists under the examples, onboard, and onboard account. Here you can see example that is using the Web3 PY package in order to communicate with the contract. First, we initiate the Web3 using our EOA account, using our private key, and we are calling and we are getting the contract also using the Web3 package. After getting the contract, basically in the Python SDK, we are also provided the option to deploy the onboard contract. If someone want to, basically someone can, if he want, he can deploy it again and use it. He can modify it and deploy it. Guys, do whatever you imagine this came up with. So here, basically, we have the ABI and the contract that we pre-deploy. We are using it. You're also welcome to use it. And again, we are calling the contract. I will show it here again, as Guy and Spence show you earlier in the TypeScript SDK. We are generating an RSA keeper. We are signing our private key using the RSA public key, and we just commit a transaction to the blockchain, so it will be always written there. We are extracting the event. The AES key is 64 bytes that we are taking from the event. We are decrypting it using our private key, and it's ready to use, ready to use.
If you can go back for a sec to the onboard implementation, I just want to share with our audience. I got a question once, why are we basically using the private to sign on the RSA public when we send it to the contract itself to send us the AES? So of course we do that because once the function is in the MPC call, once it receives the RSA public, we want to make sure it was properly signed, because only then I can know for sure that the user that requested the AES key has presented me an RSA public key, and that is presented by a really valid user. So basically, what was done there, if you think about it, something very sophisticated. We use the same identity of the externally owned account itself to make sure that it was the one that signed the RSA public key. So we use the existing Ethereum mechanism of validation of accounts to make sure that it's the same account that sent the RSA publicly. So we leverage that, making sure that no one could trick us and basically asking the account encryption key for some other user. We basically demand it to show us their valid credentials. So that's why we do line 886, for example, in the Python and in the TypeScript, making sure you are really who you said you are and you presented the right credentials to be able to get back the account encryption key.
Guy, I wanted to add something. Someone wrote in the chat that, sorry if you see double my screen, but that is no idea about coding and stuff, and it looks insane. Basically, guys, we are working on other packages that will help you, and it will be, let's say...
In this case, Eitan, sorry to stop you. In this case, I think they refer to the insane in a good way, actually.
No, of course.
They meant it's a great job on the implementation there. You wanted to emphasize about the Ethers package?
Yeah, exactly. That we are working to make life more easier for developers. That basically we will cover all this onboard and things that looks hard for you guys. We will do it for you in order that you will focus on developing only on the network. Created good DApps and stuff and all the things we are. So if you have any ideas for us, we are happy to hear.
Yeah, totally. I want to refer to Jan's question. Do you think it would be possible to generate Typescript SDK repository example that we could use as template and we would only have to replace an env file with signing key and user key? Jan, actually, for the TypeScript repository template, we have the examples, TypeScript SDK examples, where we use the actual onboard example there. And we show how to use the signing key and user key exactly there. If I may, Spence, could you please go back, show us the TypeScript and show, for example, to Jan?
I'm sharing, Guy. I can go to the main. And this is the COTI SDK TypeScript examples. I think that's what you meant.
Yeah, exactly. So if you can please go to the onboard functionality and yeah, exactly. So this is a TypeScript example on basically a template. You can refer to that, of course, because you can copy paste this code and it will enable you to use the SDK and call the onboard exactly like that. Just copy paste line 17 and that could be used. Now, we are working on a COTI Ethers that leverages the capabilities and we will release it soon. But Jan, to your question, Typescript SDK repository template, that's exactly here. Show the environment file, please, Eitan.
Sure.
So this is the environment file we used as an example that has the signing key, which is the private one, the user key that retrieved back from the onboard, and we log it exactly here.
Yeah.
So, Jan, if you have any further question, I'll be happy to even give you a presentation, right? And So here, so Jan wrote something. Let me just go over that. When working on COTI in development, I used that example to learn on how to manipulate, but quickly enough, I created a new repository to really work my actual subject. Okay, so Jan, if I understand you right, you really nailed that one. You were able to use the Typescript examples to onboard and so forth. If I got you right, I think you were able to get that working. Great. So for now, I think a sneak peek on the sandbox, and that's the right time. David, if you are ready, please share screen, show us how the new sandbox will help our users to onboard quickly.
Okay, thank you. Hey, my name is David. I'm a full stack developer at COTI and front-end developer in this project. Okay.
Screen sharing issues there, David?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay, sorry. Okay, I will go over the UI and explain a little bit about it. Keep in mind the UI is still under development. So, okay, this is the login page. And we need to generate a new keeper because we don't have any. So now we generated a private key, a keeper, but we see the private key. And if you want that the private key, if you want to enter in another time to this account, so you should keep this private key.
Because you want to relog in, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
As you can see, our balance is 0. So we'll have to copy the wallet and go to the faucet and send a request here, okay, for to find our address.
Newly generated account.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we will wait a second. Yeah. Okay, now our account is founded. We will go to the next page. Okay. As you can see, this is our onboard page. And here, when I click the onboard account button, it will send a transaction that creates a new account encryption key. And with this account encryption key, you can later to encrypt and decrypt data. Okay, it's a.
So, David, basically an actual transaction is being sent to the contract right now.
Yeah.
We also saw the balance getting updated. So now you have the new account encryption key.
Yes. Now this is our new account encryption key, and a little bit more info. Okay. So now we will go over to the dashboard for a sneak peek, but for this call, it's not. I'm not going to show all of the sandbox, but the encryption key is here, as you can see. You can copy it if you like. Okay, and this is the sandbox for another call, but we have permissions, data, and activity.
So
Okay.
basically, it's the account encryption key that's used in the sandbox itself to do all kinds of things like encrypt, decrypt data using the key.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you for the details. So if I may, I'll share my screen again just to make sure we covered all the things we wanted to talk about. From COTI team, anything you want to address we didn't discuss so far? I just want to say that basically for the next coming calls, today we just gone over the onboard and gone over on what's the account encryption key. For the next sessions, we'll talk about what's the network encryption key and how do you switch between the account encryption key to the network encryption key. And the network encryption key and the fact that it works in an MPC way, it's multi-parted, computed, it's not being held by a single node, it's being held by more than one, so it's more secured, of course. So we'll go over all of those details next time. Today, we just wanted to cover one single item, which is how you, basically your users, onboard the application and how they retrieve that encryption key and how they use it. So focusing on that specific item, making sure that specific item is really clear because it's the first step to really use the COTI best practice and features. We want your feedback. We want you to tell us what's great and what's greater in our network. We want to hear from you. We want your feedback. Please, any way you feel it's easier and to give your feedback. GitHub issues, Discord, Telegram, mails, direct message, any one of the team. We believe in confidential application. That's why we went to this journey. And we believe that inside the public blockchain, inside the depths of a public blockchain, there have to be confidential areas. And that's exactly what we want to bring to the blockchain era. So we know it has to be done, and we want you guys to be able to deliver the best application and to have the easiest onboarding. So that's why we want your feedback, and we want you to tell us how you want it to behave. So we are there for any feedback you have in mind. Getting involved, Daniel, if you want to.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, guys. So here we have our RFP repo in GitHub. So you can visit it at COTI.io/builders program. And here, basically, you will find all the opportunities that we've identified as gaps, and we're looking for help to build. So this is a somewhere newer release. So right now we have only a handful of open. So if you go back to the README actually guy, and right under open, you see the accordion on the left, right under RFP backlog.
Okay.
Yeah, and so here you can expand each one of the sections, and you will see what we're looking for help, what areas we're looking for help on. As we release testnet and mainnet, of course, this list will grow as we will need more tooling and more integration. So this is a great way to get involved. So that's number one. Number two, even if you don't see something that's on this list, but you have identified an area where you think it would be great to provide the developer community with a certain tool or a certain solution, you can click the link where it says submit a grant application on the README here. and it will take you to the Builders Program page, and you can submit an idea, and we'll reach out to you, and we'll basically discuss what you want to build. And there's really no size requirement. It could be something small or it could be something large. We really want to make sure that projects of all sizes and projects in every area gets involved. So as we are talking about account onboarding, as you're building dApps, and let's say that you want to onboard users to your own dApp, and you need to generate these keys for users and manage them and manage access. If you were to build something in that area that you think would benefit more builders, that would be an idea that you can submit to the grants program, and we'll reach out to you once you submit. So that's the first one. That's the Builders Program and the new GitHub repo that will have all of those details. And that, of course, links to the Builders Program itself. So the Builders Program has two main areas. The first one is everything that has to do with developer tooling, which, basically any integration to other protocols that you can think of, any kind of framework integration or any kind of tool that you think would be useful to other developers. It's kind of the main area that we're looking for help with. But the second area also has to do with education and content. So let's say if you build your first app with COTI and you would want to show others what you did step by step, you could, for example, turn this into a class. You can turn it into a YouTube video. You can turn it into a number of things that others could consume and would benefit basically the whole of the community. And you could also apply for a grant there to produce that kind of content. And we would be glad to talk about it with you. So those are kind of the two main categories of the Builders Program. And you can find more information linked from our GitHub. Right now, the Notion site has a very long URL. So a very easy way to...
we lost Daniel, but I'm sure we will come back in a minute and talk about it. I just want to meanwhile refer to John's question. Is the GitHub repo open or closed? Hi, Daniel. We lost you for a sec there. I'll just refer to John and Kai's question and then let you get back to the Notion. John, about the GitHub repo, all of our repositories, the SDKs and contracts are open. Spencer just pinged the GitHub repo link. And Kai, about the feedback, thank you very much. We'll love to get feedback on the onboarding. Go ahead, Daniel, sorry.
Yeah, so the GitHub repo for the grants is definitely open. I'll post the link here. It's COTI-grants on our GitHub. And a much easier link for the Builders Program, I'm going to post it here as well, is on bit.ly/COTI-builders-program. So I think that that's an easy one to remember, and we'll be looking to add more access. But all of this is also linked in our docs. So if you go to docs.coti.io, you will find all of these links here, and the links to the Builders Program are definitely there. So yeah, if you are interested in participating in any sort of capacity, doesn't have to be dev tooling only, please reach out and we'll be glad to chat with you.
Thanks, Daniel. So just before we close down today's event, the whole purpose, onboarding. We have to really understand what's the account encryption key, what is it used for, and why, and how to use it in the code. So we went over the TypeScript, Python examples. We discussed on how do we get it, how do we basically retrieve it from the blocks. In next sessions, we will show you how to use it, how to encrypt using that, how to decrypt actually using that. But first, we wanted to make sure everyone are aligned on how to get it and why to get it and what you should do with that. So if there are no other questions, I think we can wrap today's session. Thank you, everyone.
I have one question.
Yes.
Because we have our good friends here Kai and Jan and John, who were providing really, really good feedback. I was wondering if you wanted to show them a small preview of our Remix plugin, which could make it really easy for Kai to do the onboard in the near future.
Okay, we have 10 minutes left, so I think we can do that. Just keep in mind, guys, the Remix plugin is still under development. We didn't finish it there yet. We are still looking into the MetaMask integration on signing stuff. But yeah, Spence, go ahead. Give them a sneak peek there also.
Cool. Okay, great. Everyone can see my screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, for the exact reason that Kai was saying, that there are many people out there who don't know how to code, but still want to interact with the COTI network. We are working right now on a plugin for Remix to do just that. So when you load up the plugin here, you'll find that you can load your account information from a file. And the first thing you'll notice here is that it will say, complete the onboard procedure to generate your AES key. So you would be able to go over to the onboard tab and simply click the onboard button, which you see is executing a transaction. And just like that, we've executed the onboard transaction and we have our AES key. Now, suppose we have this nice contract and we want to deploy it. So we start by compiling it. Takes a second. We can deploy it as well. So while it's deploying, I'll just give a high-level overview of this contract. It's very simple. It just stores an encrypted value, and you can pass a clear value, which will then be encrypted and stored on chain, or you can pass an encrypted value.
Spencer, you're showing them too many sneak peeks for the next session. Can you show them the JSON that got created, saving the AES key on the workspace?
Sure. Yeah, so very simple JSON format. You pass your private keys and optionally your user key if you have it. Otherwise, when you complete the onboard procedure, it will paste the key in here for you.
So basically, same thing as the sandbox. It generated the RSA keys and then pasted it into the JSON file there, saving it to the user.
Yeah, so that's about it. So we hope to get this. We hope to get this plugin into production really soon for you guys. So all of our community members who are not really into coding can still interact with the chain really easily.
Totally. And of course, we have the sandbox that's coming up also to be used by anyone not familiar with coding that can leverage the use case we've created there to basically use on-chain database, encrypt, decrypt data, and then be able to test out the really cool feature of on-chain computation by the COTI V2. So that's really soon to come up. Great. Thank you everyone for joining. If you have any other question, I see Jan is typing something. Thank you, Jan, we see lots of your faucet usage. We know that we see your activity. Thank you for that. We appreciate feedback, guys. Anything you think that will make your life easier to understand how to use the network better, we want to hear you out. So any feedback, again, that's very valuable. Eitan, David, Spencer, Daniel, thank you for joining. And soon we will set up another session. We will drill down to the sneak peeks that David gave you on the sandbox, that Spencer gave you on the remix, and show how to use the account encryption key to do cool stuff. We give the session enough time to drill down to all the details, so we take it session by session, but we do it really into the details. Thanks all. Have a great day and stay COTI.
Thank you all.
Bye.